Okay, we're going to move on to our special feature where we feature a particular director. And this week we've picked the films of Ridley Scott. And I think there's probably been a little bit of a bust-up between us as to who's going to get which ones, because there are some obvious candidates. Emma, ladies first.
Thank you so much.
We'll start with your choice.
Well, so I managed to get in there first, because the one I really love is Alien.
Don't say anything like that except molecular acid.
You must be using it for blood.
It's got a wonderful defense mechanism. You don't dare kill it.
I actually rewatched it just before the recording. I just love it. It's just so good. I love the fact that, it really did well at having a female lead who, was strong, wasn't pushed around by all the men so much, and stood her ground. And just the way they portrayed that was amazing. And I mean, the effects are fantastic, and I can't help it. As serious as I try to be watching stuff, when that little alien busts out of his chest and runs across the room, I love it. It's so adorable, and I laugh every time.
Laugh.
Wow.
That's hilarious. It's absolutely wonderful.
I had a different reaction. As I think I've said before on this podcast, I saw this the morning it opened in the Odeon Leicester Square in London, and nobody knew anything about the film. I mean, this was before social media, but even then, kind of word of mouth got around. And not until Saving Private Ryan, the opening 15 minutes of that film, have I had such an electrifying cinema experience as when that bloody little thing burst out of his chest, because nobody knew what was going to happen. It was absolutely...
I had the same experience, Bob. I saw it on the day it opened, and nobody knew, as you say. Wow.
It was
Emma,
a
can
wow.
I ask, do you prefer the normal version, the theatrical version, or the director's cut?
That's an interesting question. I don't think I'd actually be able to tell you which version I watched.
Okay. So the director's cut has the added scene where Ripley finds her crewmates having been stored or put into some sort of nest in the bowels of the ship. And the captain, I forget his name off the top of my head, says just kill me.
That certainly wasn't the one I saw today. So,
but the interesting thing about the director's cut is it's shorter than the theatrical cut by about 2 minutes.
It's also got an absolutely classic soundtrack by Jerry Goldsmith, and the way he uses the music. I mean, there's a lot of wham bam crashy Jerry Goldsmith stuff in, but when it's got its quietest moments, he's got that little doot, 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 it comes in. Oh, I've got goosebumps now. just remembering the music. God, it's a really fantastic little moment. Okay, so Alien, absolutely solid choice. Let's go to Andy. What was your choice?
Oh, Alien. But seeing as I couldn't have Alien, I've gone for another film with a great score, which I love, which is Blade Runner.
You're reading a magazine, you come across a full-page nude photo of a girl.
Is this testing whether I'm a replicant or a lesbian, Mr. Deckard?
Just answer the questions, please. You show it to your husband. He likes it so much, he hangs it on your bedroom wall.
I wouldn't let him.
Why not?
I should be enough for him.
Of course, the interesting thing about Blade Runner is it's available, I've discovered now, in 6 different versions. I've got a box set of 5 different versions, and we know that Harrison Ford, for many years, wouldn't open his mouth and talk about the film because he hated it. He didn't like the narration on the original. He didn't like the ending of the original, where we see him and Rachel riding off into the sunset. And I don't know if you guys know, but that was actually a scene that Ridley Scott nicked from The Shining of Stanley Kubrick. So the ending of the original Blade Runner is actually taken from The Shining. It's that shot of them driving the car through the mountains.
Really?
Ridley Scott just nicked it and used it. For me, the best version is the director's cut, which has got no narration, raises the question, is Deckard, the Harrison Ford character, a replicant or not? And there's this little thing going on with a unicorn, a model of a unicorn. Is Deckard real or is he fantasy? And I think that's what the unicorn is representing. There's been so much said and written about this. I love the Vangelis score. Absolutely sensational. It wasn't available for many years. There was a sort of copy available. by the American Symphony Orchestra or something like that.
Yeah, I had it.
Now, I've got it, yeah. But it is now, you can get the Vangelis score. I can't praise Blade Runner enough. I love it in all its different versions, I've got to be honest. I saw it on the day that it opened. I saw the director's cut on the day it opened. I saw the final cut on the day it opened. It's stylish. It's beautiful to look at. I just think it's a fantastic film. And that speech at the end that about tears in the rain, that I don't give any spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it. And if you haven't seen it, why not? But there's a beautiful speech at the end that one of the androids gives about, I've seen things you can't begin to imagine with these eyes. Tears in the rain. And it's just glorious. So, for me, Alien is in my top 10.
He just recently died, didn't he, Rutger Hauer, I think?
Yes, he did, sadly, So Alien would be in my all-time top 10, but Blade Runner would be in my all-time top 15.
Okay, great. And what did you make of the Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford follow-up?
I didn't like it. I mean, I know a lot of people liked Blade Runner 2049. I thought I couldn't accept that the Deckard character was living in a Los Angeles apartment surrounded by holograms of Elvis and dancing girls, and that seemed so out of character for what we'd seen in the first film. And I found the ending of that film was way too quick. There's a jump cut, and I just thought, hang on a minute, I need a little bit more information as to how you've got from where you are to where we're going. So I wasn't a fan of 2049, no, at all. But I did love the first one.
Great. And Scott, what's your choice for Ridley Scott film?
So, obviously Ridley Scott is an amazing director. And as film fans, we all have that best film, favourite film, and sometimes the lines are blurred on that. So, with all that preface, I am going to pick G.I. Jane. Now, okay, you're all laughing. I totally understand why.
I think
it's not considered one of Ridley Scott's classics. I told you guys that none of you were going to pick this one. I knew it.
I think you're right.
I don't think anyone else would.
What you got, Cortez?
Nothing.
O'Neill. It's Wick. Can you read my mind? What do you think?
I don't see any other way. There was some foliage back to the south. There was some good cover, but that's high ground. I think he'd just be trapped. I don't know, Wick. Shit.
So, I saw this film, and from the very first time, and every single time since, I've just had such an entertaining time with it. Demi Moore is going all out with her sort of soldier-type character and just having a great time as this sort of kick-ass female lead. You've got a younger Viggo Mortensen who is in sublime form as the villain of the piece, Master Sergeant, in this film. I think to this day, I absolutely love that character, and it's one of my favourite roles that he's ever done. You get that sort of traditional army training sequences. That goes on for quite a long time. Essentially, you've got this female who's introduced into the Navy SEALs in order to see if women can pass the training. And this is when Demi Moore has to prove herself that she can do it. And you get this sort of the sexism, the bullying, that sort of army, sort of Navy humour in there a lot. I just find this thoroughly entertaining. Later on, you get the actual war stuff as well. I think the performances and the camaraderie between everyone in the cast is fantastic. And yeah, I know it's not one of his technical best films, but for me, it's personally the one that I would want to watch more than any other. So it's the one that I'd consider my favourite.
There you go. You see, that's why this slot is always interesting, isn't it? Never predictable, yes. And of course, it provoked one of the most spectacular moments in any Oscar ceremony recently as well.
Yes, it did.
There you go.
Yes,
for the wrong reason. Yes. Okay, so interesting choices. I've gone for another classic. I haven't been as brave as and there are lots of films in Ridley Scott's career which I could have gone for. I really actually like The Last Duel from a couple of years ago, which might be a bit controversial. I think that was a really, really clever film, the way that it was kept doing different versions of reality. But the one I've gone for is a sword and sandals classic from 2000, and that, of course, is Gladiator.
Tell me your name.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius. commander of the armies of the North, loyal servant to the true Emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
Gladiator won 5 Academy Awards, of course. It won Best Picture. It got Best Actor for Russell Crowe. It got Best Supporting Actor for Joaquin Phoenix, who, if you look at his IMDb history to that point, apart from the Nicolas Cage film 9mm, he was barely on the map before then. And it also won Best Original Screenplay. And it's a cracking tale, really. And some of the set pieces from that are absolutely superb. The initial battle in the woods, I think, on horseback is brutal, and against the music of Hans Zimmer, which is a classic Hans Zimmer track called The Battle. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, it plagiarizes horribly from, I think, the Holst, The Planet Suite. But apart from that, it's fun. Crazily, Hans Zimmer lost out on the original score Oscar for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in the 2001 Academy Awards. Like, what? Who can hum that one now? Right? But it's an epic scale, epic drama. It was, of course, Oliver Reed's final film, and as a result, it was an early example of character CGI being added into a film, because he actually died during the production of the film. But it's a full-on classic, and a bit like you, Scott, I can sit down and I can put that film on any time you like. But I would have probably also chosen Alien if it was available. But as my second choice, I would probably pick...
Director's cut, Bob, or theatrical?
I don't mind. And again, like Emma, I'm not sure I could tell you which one. Unlike Spielberg's Close Encounters, I don't know you can particularly tell too much difference between them. Right. So that's an interesting set of films, isn't it? We've got Alien, we've got Blade Runner, we've got Gladiator, and we've got G.I. Jane. Yes, as Ridley Scott's films, yes. I'm only glad that nobody picked House of Gucci. That's the only thing I'm really glad about. The only thing I'm really glad about. Right. So those are the films we've picked from Ridley Scott. Next week, we are going to pick the great Quentin Tarantino, who always says he's made or about to make his last film, but who can tell? So next week, we're going to pick the works of Quentin Tarantino.